Let's welcome my friend from the north, Adam Hosker from Apprentice Series 3. Let's see if I can get him in. I think he's on his way. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, it's my son from the north. How's it going?
Yeah, the lockdown north.
The lockdown north, don't I know it well? Liverpool's had it too. So, but yeah, it's nice to meet you. I remember tweeting you a few years ago, and I think you were surprised that somebody remembered who you were. I think that's pretty much your words. So we're gonna chat about The Apprentice today. Have been absolutely caning it. I got a little bit behind on watching videos, so I think I watched about 4 episodes yesterday. So just watched the 97p victory today.
That was interesting.
But yeah, we'll go over that. But yeah, so just go right in, I suppose. So I guess want to know what led you to applying for the show. Like, what did you think what it was going to be like, and that sort of thing. Like,
yeah, I think it was 2 things actually. I think the first one was I was a fan of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And the second thing was probably because I really thought that it appeared to be an opportunity for people that hadn't been to expensive private schools and got lots of like family connections into big businesses to be able to go to London and get a job on a decent salary and just be given that opportunity to sort of really be out there in a place that, being a lad from a working class background and sort of being from a little town like Blackburn, didn't really seem that realistic previously, and I just thought it was kind of worth having a crack at. That, and I was pretty cocky back then, and I thought I was as good as people that were on the previous seasons.
You kind of think like watching the first 2 series, like I could do that, like that. Yeah. I wouldn't make that decision. Were you sort of looking at it like that, like a little bit?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think just kind of watching it back, it was just like something I felt like I could probably do.
Yeah. So, what did you do before? And we saw you. I know we know a little bit from a Katie Hopkins quote, but something about Fiat Puntos.
Yeah.
You sold cars.
Yeah. So at the time when I went on it, I was managing a Renault dealership in Preston. So when I was at university, instead of getting a job in a bar, a restaurant, or one of the large supermarkets, I managed to persuade a car dealership to let me have a job selling cars one summer. Did really well.
Yeah.
And then carried that through. So I ended up working full-time selling cars while I was at university full-time. And then obviously kind of impressed them with the fact that I could get a degree, and I've been working 60 hours a week as well.
Wow.
So they offered me a management role once I finished my degree to keep hold of me.
Great. So what was the process itself like in terms of the application? Did you have to have like 1,000,001 auditions? Like how did that?
Yeah, it was huge, and I believe it's still fairly similar these days. So there was over the course of 4 separate days, there were probably about 11 different stages to go through. So The first day we went along. I think there was different sort of regional heats. And we went along and did, I think it was 4 interviews with different people, different producers, and then a piece to camera and a group interview as well. So that was quite in depth. And then there were further interviews, which were then more centralised in London. There were a number of different interviews, so group tasks. I met Trey Azam on my first one of those, and me and Trey kind of half hit it off, half argued. Yeah. And I think that dynamic probably, I think they probably expected more of that on the show, but we just ended up being like best mates, really. And then it even went in depth with obviously due diligence and that kind of thing with the BBC. We then had to go and have an interview with a psychologist to make sure that under those sorts of stressful circumstances that there wasn't something that would cause any harm, that kind of thing. So I was pleased to get through that.
So in the group interviews, what did you do in the group interview?
One of them was building an IKEA wardrobe.
Right.
like 10 people. Honestly, too many cooks does spoil the broth. Let me tell you, 10 people building an IKEA wardrobe is harder than one person building an IKEA wardrobe. I built plenty of them.
Gosh, that furniture is my absolute nightmare. And when you get other people involved, you'll have one that will want to read the instructions for ages, and you'll have one person that will just want to go straight into it. So was it like a mix of that, like, and were they kind of observing your behaviour and your teamwork and
yeah,
things like that?
I've no idea how it was marked. I presume it's a combination of teamwork, leadership, and ability to have an argument based on what we've seen from shows in previous years.
Yeah. I read somewhere, I can't remember where, that as part of the interview process, you had to interview Trey and you fired him. Is that right?
Had to interview what, sorry?
Trey, as part of the interview process. I read that somewhere. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah. So, no, there was a group task where me and Trey fell out monumentally. So yeah, no. So we had really differing views about what to do with a business in Blackpool. That was the task that they gave us, was to start a restaurant in Blackpool. So we kind of fell out with what the idea was. But yeah, I won.
So I hadn't seen this series since it was on. So I found the episodes online, and I honestly couldn't remember most of the results. Couldn't remember most of the contestants. So I kind of
better than me finding any of the episodes. I thought somebody had managed to delete them all. I don't think YouTube was even a thing back then. It's that long ago.
No, there was. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. There was no YouTube, no social media, nothing like that. But yeah, I did manage to find them. And I was in the first segment before it got to the task. I was sort of trying to give my opinions on the different contestants. I really couldn't remember. Obviously, I knew that Simon won. But I kind of thought about Simon. He's a kind of an unusual guy. So obviously he's one to watch. Obviously he ended up winning the thing. Trey, I thought, like, he could be hard to lead, and maybe he'll be working some mind games or something like that. Nothing personal against the guy, but he seems that kind of guy. You want that he'll do anything to get it, kind of guy.
Yeah,
which is fair. And I thought Lohit was quiet, and maybe
he was. Lohit's incredibly successful these days. Lohit works for one of the major global banks in a really senior position. He was very quiet but incredibly intelligent and incredibly well thought through in his decision making process. Yeah,
I kind of thought Adam, he could be good. But obviously, again, I knew what had happened. Paul Callahan, I thought, posh guy. Don't know if he'd gel with Lord Sugar very well. It didn't seem like completely different people from different worlds. But who knows? Rory, I thought, all I wrote was posh guy. Ifti, I thought, I liked him. I really liked Ifti in the first episode. I thought he could work out. Something could happen. And then Andy, I just thought, he's a nice guy and he's going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, he did.
He did, literally. So I remember, I have not laughed so much at an initial task, and purely it's because Trey got caught out with Certis, the company that he worked with. So I thought that was hilarious. But I thought that doing something like that would cause you to get fired or something. But I guess they wanted to keep him around, for a little bit.
He made good TV, didn't
he? He certainly did. I mean, he we'll talk about it later, but he cracked me up during the art task. But but then you and Andy went outside to have a conversation. So I think it was all set going back in that you were going to be the PM, and then they're having this sort of like side sort of discussion inside, and they pick Andy as the PM. Do you think that's because they could see that they could easily just get rid of him?
They smelled blood. Yeah.
Was that pretty much what it was?
Pack animals smelling blood. Yeah, so it was a shame. He was a nice guy, but it's not a place for nice guys, is it, unfortunately?
No, definitely not. So you had a little surprise. Lord Sugar looked like he was walking away, and then he comes back and says, "Oh, no, Jadine over here." So you ended up getting Jadine. What did you think about that? Had you had much interaction with her by that point?
Very little. I think she really struggled as well on that one. But we won the task in the end, I think. Did we? No, we didn't. No, we lost that task. No, but Jadine was. I mean, in fact, no, we did win that task. She really struggled, but kind of dragged herself through it, and that kind of propelled her through quite a way. The next few weeks where she'd struggled even more, but she kind of got through that task where she'd led something. And then obviously Andy leading the girls, he was just like that was just carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah, I read into interviews that they didn't like the way that he spoke to them. I don't know whether it's because he was calling them sweetheart and all that. Like maybe they thought he was being, I don't know, condescending. I just thought he was really nice, like a really nice, friendly guy.
Yeah, he was, and it was just you've got to think with something like The Apprentice is even though you're in a team and like you're supposed to be working together, there's just so much where people genuinely aren't really working with you and just looking for excuses to make sure it's you that gets fired and not them if you end up in the boardroom. So he kind of fell foul with that, really.
And there's always that moment I noticed at the beginning of any Apprentice series where, you know, who wants to be PM, and I swear you can hear crickets, you know, nobody wants to do it, you know.
Yeah. You also don't want to be the guy saying, I don't want to do it. So you're in a really difficult position with you don't want to be the PM on week one, but do you want to also be the person that refused to do it? Because then you're definitely down the road.
Yeah, they notice that, don't they?
So
there's the initial discussion. I think Jadine looked like she was getting a bit stressed out because Trey was going at 100 miles an hour, all these different ideas and stuff, and you were like, let's keep it simple, you know, tea, coffee, you know, stick with the Eclipse theme, you know, let's do it. But you know, there's always somebody in the group that wants to add extra things and overcomplicate it. So
yeah.
I guess once you know what you're doing, maybe, but I guess at that stage you want to keep it simple and, you know, get your win.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing in any business. And I think particularly if you were going to start, I mean, like taking it slightly away from The Apprentice, if somebody out there was going to start a food business right now, you look at who the successful food businesses are. McDonald's, what do they make? Burgers. Everybody knows that. What do Kentucky Fried Chicken make? Chicken.
Yeah.
What do Domino's Pizza make? What does Pizza Hut make? They do one thing well. To any food business, and it makes it faster, more scalable, easy to control costs. The more products you make, the more confused the message gets. But when you're doing something at hyper speed like you're doing with an apprentice task, you've got to literally strip things back to the bare bones and do things as simple as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, every extra thing you add in is another area where something can go wrong.
Yeah. So, is that what you do in any new business? Is just keep it simple, and then once you're successful, then you sort of maybe start adding little bits here and there on that relate to that.
I think from a business that I'd start now, or any business that I start now, you've got to do one thing really well, and you've got to get known for doing that one thing really well.
Just that one thing, though.
Doesn't matter what area you work in, what sort of business it is, but you've got to develop a reputation for doing something really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So here comes the beginning of the task. They still see stick with tea and coffee, end up going to the cash and carry, buy the wrong coffee, and then Jadine, you eventually find a shop to buy the right one. But then, you know, credit to Jadine, she kind of thought, okay, we've got this coffee, we can't do anything with it, let's sell it in, you know, pouches. Like, so just sell the pouches, so you know, make some of the money back. But she seemed to be a little bit obsessed with the Eclipse logo. Like, it's got to be Eclipse, it's got to be Eclipse. Like, it's not.
Yeah, she went brand crazy, didn't she?
Yeah, it's not a real business as such, but she kind of went a bit crazy. You've got to have the little thing that's and all that. It's got to have the logo on the thing, and spending too much time whipping the coffee. It's got to be Eclipse. You know, so but the guys, Simon and Tracy, seem to be doing good business, but then they will pull back, and you know, so you ended up having to go park in a red zone and having to leave, and all the arguments and all of that. You didn't seem to be in that. I don't think you had much coverage in the first maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think the way things are edited, it generally spends more time looking at the mistakes and the people that end up in the boardroom and the reasons why. It's quite good not to feature too much couple of episodes because it means you were doing the right things. But yeah, we sold quite a lot that day, but I don't think there was a great deal that I was involved with the poor decisions. So yeah, I probably didn't feature a great deal on those.
Yeah. What seemed to be completely random to me was the happy birthday dance, because there appeared to, unless I missed something, there appeared to be no sort of lead up, and I was sort of wondering, what are they doing? You know?
Yeah, I have no idea what was going on with that.
But yeah. So did that just sort of happen? I mean, how did that sort of transpire?
Honestly, I have no idea. I just got dragged into a room, and I think they tried to sell a company 10 copies, and it was somebody's birthday, and they agreed to do a dance and show as part of it. I just got kind of like dragged into a room and it's kind of like dancing around like this. It was like, yeah, that was pretty crazy, to be fair.
Low hit, bless him, trying to find his note at the beginning, like that, you know, which I thought was quite funny. But your team smashed
Trust me,
the task.
nobody wants me singing. Believe me.
Can you sing?
No, I'm terrible. And I do some things with musicians these days, and they will tell you I don't even know what a note is.
Cottonopolis music. We'll have a chat about that later. I saw that before. Had a little listen to a couple of tracks. So you smashed the task. I mean, I think you won by about £250.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to go to the ballet.
Yeah, meet Darcy Bushell. Darcy Bushell, probably.
I love Darcy Bushell, but for me, the ballet is kind of like a punishment.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not everybody's cup of tea, is it? So
no, it's not. So
you kind of like, you know, you enjoy, you got your win, you know, you're feeling good, and then you start. This one made me laugh so much. Just the beginning part of it, you know, the doggy designs.
Oh.
Is that bringing back traumatic memories?
Yeah. What was it called? It's like
the pooch pouch.
The poo pouch, I think I nicknamed it.
The pooch pouch. It looked like an army utility belt or something.
Yeah, but that was definitely, project name was the poo pouch, because it was just like dog poo bags and a dog ball and stuff in what looked like a combat / explosive vest.
Yeah, like
terrible idea.
Should have grenades clipped on it or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Rory and Paul were ex-army though, so I think that was something that came out of a ridiculous conversation those two boys had.
And I kind of cringed at this one at the beginning, because it was like, we were going to talk about discipline. So I guess that's his army background coming in. And he's like, take your jackets off, take your ties off.
Yeah, I think at the time I kind of felt like he was trying to do like the officer and the men kind of thing. It was very, very odd. Sorry, I'm trying to work on. Oh, right. Still there?
I think you described feeling like a 5-year-old boy in a Victorian school.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like that.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I think leadership's a very difficult thing, isn't it? And I think possessing natural leadership, where you lead from the front and people naturally, just naturally work with you and gel with you. It's not something everybody can do. Rory definitely struggled with it, which was quite odd coming from a background with like army officer background, because obviously that's the key thing that they get taught. I spent a bit of time training with the Royal Navy, doing officer courses and that kind of thing myself when I was at university. Right. But it's a very difficult thing to do leadership. Lots of people can do management. I found this right through my career. There's lots of kind of spreadsheet managers. There's lots of people get a leadership position and presume that means that they can then boss people around. What they don't realise is, in a leadership position, you need to act as though you work for the employees or the people that are in your team. You need to facilitate them and provide them with what they need to excel and do things themselves. Yeah. You've got to trust people to carry out a task as well. Don't get me wrong, the apprentice is a different situation in the way those tasks are set up. But ultimately, from a leadership point of view, just screaming, shouting and bossing people around is something that happens in every industry, in every organisation, when you've got a poor leader. And that's unfortunately what he was on that task. He's actually a lovely guy. I've been out for beers with him many times since, but I think to take that authoritarian, disciplinarian stance is a poor move then, but it is something that happens in organisations up and down the country still to this day, that people just think they can just boss people around, and that's management.
Kind of just felt like from that moment, it was the whole task was just going to be sort of rocky, especially when you creative people, trade, and all of that.
Yeah, because people aren't working for you. They're not pulling in the same direction. They're not trying to beat the other team. They're just trying to get rid of you, and they're not like people just aren't going to do things for you, are they? If you do that.
What is your experience of creative meetings like? Do you, when it's thinking of an idea, do you just sort of let it sort of free flow?
That's the only way you can let something creative happen. Really, that is the process. That is like everybody throwing ideas out. Yeah. It's a conversation, and as a leader in a creative situation, what you've got to do is make sure everyone's got a voice.
Yeah.
Because there are people that will naturally talk constantly, but there are people that have great ideas that aren't naturally confident about talking in a group. Yeah. So there's a bit of facilitating, dragging the ideas out of people that don't necessarily want to talk about it, and kind of controlling a little bit the ones that talk too much, but at the same time allowing that creative process and people to come up with ideas, because that's where more people does make a big difference, where you've got something creative to do.
So the team presented a load of ideas. Literally quick, no discussion. And then Rory decided to put his idea up and go with that, which was obviously the poo pouch. I really thought it was pooch pouch, but maybe it was a poo pouch. But I'm
going to stick with poo pouch because it wasn't a great idea.
Because it was poo. Okay. Got it. So then there was the problem. Something weird happened. Sorry, I thought the electricity went off. So then the trip was made to the I think it was like the printer or the designer, sorry. But there's still no idea of what you want to, because I think there's some issue with the focus group being late or something like that. I think Trey was like, why are they not meeting with the focus group or something like that? So then he had to go with the poo pouch. Sorry, I keep wanting to say pooch pouch. And Jadine had a bit of an obsession with clips and straps. She wanted clips and straps. But then I thought it was an interesting. I don't know much about product design. I thought, it looks okay, but I can't imagine a lot of people wanting to buy it. Maybe just like a very limited group, like who go on like hikes and outdoorsy sort of things. That's the only thing I could think of. But then just watching the pictures, like I don't know about you, but I have often, when watching pictures, literally screamed behind a pillow, cringing, because I was just, oh no.
At that point, the pitch didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because the product was so bad. You've got to, I think, in business we talk about product market fit, and it's a case of like what is the market, what's the market size for any given product, and there are plenty of ideas that there's a market of 12 people for that aren't commercially viable, and that was just a classic example that there wasn't really a market for a product like that. People will just take some dog poop bags in the pocket and a ball in the pocket and trot off down to the park. They're not going on a army expedition needing some kind of combat belt. The pitches were just utterly irrelevant because the product was so bad, unfortunately.
See, Rory ended up going, but and obviously Ifty as well. And that I was gutted. I was so gutted. I was like, poor guy. Like, he's such a nice. He was just such a nice guy. I just felt so bad for him. I was just, because I thought he was going to do well, but I guess there's that cutthroat kind of competition, and then family, and what have you.
Ifty was missing family. Ifty's done very well in years since. He's been the mayor of his local town in recent years. Unfortunately, he's a bloody Tory, but you can't have it all, can you? But he's been successful in life since then. But yeah, it was a shame.
So I found the startup service quite amusing. Now I read again in my research, read somewhere that you overheard Katie and Paul talking that they were going to start to, you know, mess up the tasks and stuff. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, there were a couple of things. So they kind of identified a couple of threats for them to get further through. Myself and Christina were two of the people that they considered a threat, and it was more because of the kind of background we had, a bit more aligned with the public persona that Lord Sugar, as he is now, kind of puts across, of being a bit more kind of rough and ready from an ordinary background.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did, and like you saw, like through the series, like Katie was sabotaging task after task and kind of setting people up to fail, and saying one thing to people's face and another thing to everybody else. And I think you've probably seen the impact of that. But I kind of had it figured out early doors. Like, me and her fell out constantly. It was quite strange as the episodes aired. I'd get text messages and phone calls off different contestants saying, "How did you have it figured out?" And we thought she was nice, because everybody actually thought she was really nice when we were filming.
I
with the
thought
exception of me.
thought this is a bit controversial. You know, she says some things.
She's an absolute wench.
Oh, dear.
I'll go on record. I'd even use the C word when talking about Katie Hopkins. I'm not going to lie. She's just a nasty piece of work. She's just a racist, a bigot, and a genuinely nasty person. And yeah, and I've kind of spotted it day one, and I've not seen any evidence to contradict that in the 13 years since.
Try and keep the swear words down, because I think YouTube start to have a problem with that. I don't want to get deleted, or I don't want this thing to get shut down. I think
I managed not to use any.
No, you're right. I mean, there, see, again, it's one of those ones where there wasn't much strategy, and I heard that something towards the end they wanted to clear driveways in the dark, but then you suggested the sing along thing, you know, in the Singagram thing in the pubs, and apparently her and Paul were fuming at that because they thought, "Oh crap, we're not going to lose the task now. You know, we're probably actually win it."
Yeah, because we did win the task on the back of that.
Yeah. And
the other team had that other silly idea of going around being kissograms rather than singograms, didn't they? So that didn't go down particularly well.
I think that was the other team, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The other team did that, but we did the singograms, and actually we God knows how, we just found some really drunk people, I think, but we did really well. That kind of pushed it over the edge for us.
I mean, it was bad, but it was so much fun. You know, people singing in the pub. It's not like you know, American Idol or anything like that. You know,
we weren't winning any Grammys with that. But
no,
it was
fun. But it was so much fun. I was like, I would have absolutely loved that. One of in this series, there obviously there were the Katie. I keep wanting to call it Katie Price for some reason. I don't know why. They're completely not the same person. But a very quotey kind of series, probably the most quotable series, I think. That you were described, if you want to hear it, in Katie. This is Katie. In life, there are energizers, and there are sappers. And guess which one you are.
Yeah, well, she would say that, wouldn't she? But yeah, rather a sapper than an evil Nazi.
When did you kind of work out early on she really does not like me? Was it like right?
Immediately, yeah. And it was a combination of factors. It was partly heritage based, and it was partly the fact that I was working class and from the north, that kind of thing. But what really rattled her was the fact that I'd looked into joining the Royal Navy as an officer and been through the Admiralty Interview Board process, and quickly identified the way she handled questions as being in a way that you often see that from military officers and particularly intelligence officers. And I asked her if she trained at Dartmouth or Sandhurst. This was like the first week, and it kind of knocked her for six. It turned out that she had been in the army, and she'd been forcibly removed from the army and didn't really want to talk about it.
Ooh, I wonder why.
Medical grounds, apparently, but I don't know.
You ended up winning, though, and you had to go on a night out with her, Cuban dancing. You know, so I'm sure that was fun for yourself.
Yeah, it was this.
You led on the next task.
Yeah.
the London Zoo, the confectionery.
Yeah, it was loads of fun. I really thought we'd smashed it, and we lost by like 11 quid. And it was like all the tasks on like every previous season, every season since. There's like thousands of pounds, or at the very minimum hundreds of pounds between it. What really happened there was like I led one. I think was it Gazelle that led the other team. We both actually did a bloody good job of it with selling the lorries at London Zoo. And yeah, there just wasn't much in it. Like we all pretty much sold out. There were a couple of mistakes here and there that we managed to rectify as the day went on. Yeah. And it was literally Christina being cheeky and selling lollipops for like 10 quid that pushed them over the edge. But yeah, we lost by like 11 quid on that one. It was a closely run one, but yeah, unfortunately I lost it and ended up in the boardroom on the back of it.
Well, yeah, there was the labelling issue that described as a natural lolly, not a tiger, whatever it was.
Yeah, and we changed the labels and resolved that pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I don't think that was ever. Yeah, I don't think that was ever supposed to be on it. Maybe Katie wrote that. I'm not too sure. But
that was made out to be a rather big issue.
Yeah, but it really wasn't. It was solved in like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. It wasn't a huge problem. We still managed to sell them. But yeah, we just changed the labels around really quickly. But again, they've kind of got to show something, haven't they, and a reason why you end up in the boardroom. But
yeah, they had the production. You wanted to soldier on, staying till quite late, and I think Sophie didn't want to. I think I don't know. Maybe I really liked her. I think maybe at that point she'd maybe checked out a little bit.
Yeah, well, Sophie's a physicist and an incredibly talented one at that. So selling confectionery at London Zoo was not her strong suit, and she was completely out of her comfort zone. And I think she found that and realised that she didn't really fit in or want to be there necessarily.
Yeah. You got
but an incredibly intelligent, incredibly talented girl.
I got that from her. I just don't think it was her world. Maybe.
No. And she's back in the world of science, technology, and academia, and again, incredibly successful. For all the mistakes that were made on these tasks, and for all the production team made people look quite silly. To be fair, the majority of them were incredibly talented people. And they're all doing something like incredibly high up the chain, even to this day.
Because they made her out to be, lazy a little bit.
It wasn't that.
She didn't strike me as that kind of person.
So. No. It was just selling's hard. Just walking up to random strangers and selling's even harder. Like if you work in a shop or in any of the sales environments and customers are approaching, it's still difficult. But to just randomly running up to strangers in London Zoo, it's like people feel embarrassed, they feel uncomfortable, they feel nervous. Yeah. It just wasn't for her, and I totally get that. I'm a natural salesperson. Even I hate doing that, if I'm completely honest about it. But you sort of throw yourself into the task and do it.
Whose idea was the lion suit?
Probably mine.
You didn't seem to be that kind of guy that would put on a lion suit, but then you did it, and you had fun with it.
Yeah, it was fun. The kids loved it. Most of the kids loved it. I think the production team managed to put the one kid that I scared the life out of in the edit, but the majority of the kids absolutely loved it. I mean, like when I was bouncing around and being a divvy in the lion suit, we were like selling loads, but then it got so hot, so I needed a quick break, and then like the customer would drop off. Like as a little marketing tool, it was brilliant. It worked really well, to be fair.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like and I think Natalie was maybe taking things a bit personal, with regards to your idea about, because obviously Lohit was doing really well with how he's demonstrating, things, with the lollies.
Yeah, Natalie just got wound up by the producers. They're quite clever at going in and saying, "Oh, so what do you think about the way Adam said that to you?" And like Natalie's not even thought anything about it, and then before you know it, she's like running over and screaming and shouting at me. But that was a producer's kind of winding things up and like setting her off. Yeah. So that got calmed down pretty quick. Me and Natalie are great friends. We still see each other on a regular occasion now. Right. But that was sneaky producers, that one.
Yeah, and then it comes to the boardroom. So they said Simon saved the location. The lolly looks like child's vomit, and I thought it looked nice. I'd eat it.
It tasted great. They were really good.
I'd I'd bet.
I'm a hell of a cook.
Oh, same here. So you lost by £10 or £11 or whatever it was, which must have been absolutely like
£10.97 to be precise, but not that I'm bitter.
Yeah. So then, Katie started to do her work in the boardroom. Putting things in Lord Sugar's head, and so you'd see in the little videos and stuff that you're not good at selling, and when things get difficult, you're not very good in that situation either. And that didn't come across to me either, I guess. But I guess that's part of Katie's plan to
but that's it's quite clever in the way that she did that, because as we've seen in recent years with things like with Donald Trump, if something's suggested to be true, a number of people believe it to be true, whether it is or whether it isn't. The truth was, I sold more than anybody else that day, and I was bouncing around like a divvy in the lion suit, bringing in more custom. But yeah, people suggest that kind of thing. But it was quite easy because I was aware that Margaret and Nick were keeping count of what was going on. So it's quite easy. I don't know if the whole thing made the edit in the end, but it's quite easy to like get them to roll off the numbers, because they've taken they've actually looked at how many each person sold. So again, that was like immediately proved to be wrong.
Oh, so every time you sell something, you'd write it down in this book?
Nick and Margaret that were following us around were keeping a pretty close eye on who was selling what.
So Sophie kind of talked herself out of it a little bit, or a lot of it. She pretty much admitted she didn't agree with how selling certain things if they're not value for money. So she was eliminated. Now it goes on to task 5, which I have to say, hands down, is one of the funniest tasks I've ever seen for various different reasons. Not no less Katie's schmoozing and take me into your world and tell me more about you.
Have you seen the YouTube video just of that episode of that me versus Katie?
Yeah, it's on a YouTube account that's named as your name, but then you've got another account.
Yeah, it's not actually my account, but whoever did it, like, cheers.
Yeah, I've seen that. I wanted to.
It was from a show that was on the year after on BBC Two, which was like the best decisions or worst decisions, or something, like one of those like roundup shows that would come on before the new season started, with like Trevor Nelson and people like that kind of quoting. But yeah, I think it was just another example of Katie was obviously saying I wasn't capable of doing certain things, so I wasn't capable of selling at a high level, or I wasn't capable of selling to posh people, or whatever it was.
Turns out she wasn't. So
yeah, it turns out she was really bad at it, but she was really bad at selling as well, and just bad at generally being a human being. Yeah. So.
So when it came to visiting the artists, I'll say that in inverted commas, I won't name any specific ones.
Yeah.
You came to I think she was American. She kind of talked with an American twang. I think her name was Elizabeth or something like that. It was these pictures that she was selling for £950, £1,000, and she'd only previously had one exhibition.
She'd never sold anything ever.
Yeah, and that.
She's a brand new photographer. The images would sell like hotcakes in IKEA, like university bedrooms, that kind of thing, that have been incredibly popular. I do have quite an interesting fine art, to be fair. I'm really into people like Todd White and Lawrence Coulson, and I'm very much into that kind of thing, and that wasn't that kind of thing. There were two artists in particular. There's a guy that had taken pictures of people wearing these like animal heads.
Yes,
as weird as it was, he had a huge amount of followers. And anything in business, and particularly in art, it's about building followers, right? So if you're selling songs or if you're selling artwork, you need people that are going to follow you.
Yeah.
And then there's another photographer that was taking images of horses, and again, massive addressable market, beautiful images. They were the obvious two. And the third one was Vanessa Pepper, who had taken the travel images of Morocco that were absolutely stunning as well. So of the 6 or 8 artists, whatever it is, we went to see, the lips one, I'd put it right at the bottom of the list because she's never sold out. She's not got an audience to sell to. I didn't really see the point in picking that one. And I wanted two of the three that I mentioned there because they had an audience that would come and they had talent. So it was a great combination. But obviously, Natalie didn't agree with me. Katie persuaded her to go the other way. I just about managed to persuade her to take Vanessa as a second artist because they didn't get the weird fish pictures that I think the other team ended up getting. So I ended up selling a couple of pictures of Vanessa because what happened is the entire team, because I'd been completely against the picture of the lips, the entire team was selling the lips and I was the only person selling this other little artist that nobody cared about, this Vanessa Pepper, who I thought was incredibly talented, who did have an audience. So I got in contact with the people that followed her, got them down to the show. And I actually sold 3. It said on the edit that I sold 2, but I actually sold 3. I think Sam did the paperwork for one and sneakily put his name on it, but I sold all 3 because there was only me selling those pieces. And obviously Katie and the rest of the team didn't sell anything, but it was partly like selecting the wrong artist. But a lot of it, like with Katie, was just she was just talking to the wrong people, like just no idea about identifying if someone's there to buy something or have a look or just come along because they saw something was going on.
Well, that's what I thought because you know that you've got they're saying you've got to qualify, you know, who you're speaking to basically. So it could just be somebody that, you know, just gonna have a look and not buy anything. So then you wasted like an hour talking to the person who's not going to buy anything. And it seemed like there was no sort of question. Oh, are you, you know, you're looking to buy? Are you just looking? I think the other team were asking that.
Yeah, and you've got a finite amount of time on something like that as well. So you've got to quickly identify who's come to look to buy something, and then if there's something that they like, and then you can start to sell. There's no point. You can tuck the hind legs off a donkey, can't you, with someone that's doesn't want to buy anything, doesn't have any money to buy anything. It's like I'd love to buy a mansion, but I can't afford one. So there's no point showing me around the mansion.
I think Katie was amongst her own people. So
well, she thought she was, but actually the majority of people that were there and a lot of the people that bought the artwork weren't actually particularly well off. They were just people that were interested in art. You've got to think there are plenty of people that earn average wages that ride £20,000 motorbikes as a hobby. There are, by the equal fact, there are people that like art that spend a large percent of their income on artwork. But it's not about spotting people that have got X number of pounds in the bank. It's about spotting people that want to buy that product and have the means to do so.
When you were at Elizabeth's place looking at the lips, when you were asking about price and you said £9.50, did you mean that because you thought art was rubbish?
Yeah, because I reckon in IKEA at £9.50 they'd sell like hotcakes.
I wondered that. I thought, is he just making like a crack to kind of, you know?
Well, she said £9.50, right?
Yeah, she said £9.50. Yeah.
And I'm like, right, yeah, I'll have the full set.
I have pieces of art in my room. They're kind of digital art that my friend did for me. And I'd pay more than I would pay more than, you know, that than some of those lips. So, you know, there you go.